I hope you all are doing great. Today we have with us Vivek Raja, who will be taking the session forward. And today he'll be taking the session on, deep dive into Azure Cognitive Service. So if you are the one who is crazy about cloud and loves to, use the machine learning and AI part, so this session is going to be, insightful and learning session for you all. So because today we are going to integrate both of these and use Azure Cognitive Services. So without any further delay, let's start with the stream and let me hand over the stream to Vivek sir. So over to you, sir.
Yeah. Hi, everyone, and thank you, Varun, for a wonderful introduction. So, for those who have joined today, welcome to today's session. And what we are going to see today is how we are actually going to leverage some amazing speech-related AI APIs that you can easily integrate with the application that will really give you some amazing results. So, this will start with some basics of understanding. So, if you're totally new, don't worry. We'll start with what is cognitive services in Azure. Then we'll try to understand like what we do and everything, followed by we'll do some hands-on session which will really help you to understand how we do integrate with our end applications. So with that being said, just give me a second, let me share my screen. Okay, perfect. I'm sorry. Yep, perfect. Okay, great. So I guess my screen is visible and I'm also audible and stuff. So if yes, please do drop an S in the comment. And if you have any questions, please do drop it in the comment. I will really like to take so in between the session or at end of the session. And once again,
I'm
welcome.
sorry to interrupt you, Vivek, but if you're saying something, your voice is not. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
you can go ahead.
Yep, perfect. So today's session will be on deep dive into Azure Speech Cognitive Service, and I'm Vivek Raja. So what this session will be is like this session will cover you some speech related Azure Cognitive Services and how it will enable everyone of different skill levels to easily add AI to capabilities to their applications. So that will be the motto of today's session. And what will be the agenda? So we'll have some quick welcome note and some prerequisites, and we'll start from very basics of understanding what is Azure Cognitive Services in first place. Then we'll start to explore some text related APIs, language related APIs, and then we'll use that APIs in our application and see how it works. So that will be the whole agenda of today's talk. So about me, I'm Vivek Raja. Once again, I'm from Madurai. I'm working as data scientist at Cortex BCI Nextem. At Nextem, we build some amazing brain-computer interface, so hardware and software solutions. So please do check it out at nextem.ai. I'm also a Guinness World Record holder for fixing maximum number of bugs along with AWS, and I'm organizer at Azure Developer Communities in Tamil Nadu, which includes Chennai, Coimbatore, and Madurai. And I'm a AWS machine learning hero, so I've done a lot of things in both Azure and AWS. With context, anything related to machine learning interests me a lot. And I'm Microsoft certified Azure data scientist, AI engineer, data engineer, and developer associate. And I've also completed around 16 plus cloud certificates in past 3 years. So besides all these stuff, I'm just 1 year professional experience, and but I started my career journey, cloud career journey from in my third year itself. So I used to attend a lot of webinars, conferences, and hackathons, by which I have actually won around 20 plus international and national level hackathons in over 60 plus hackathons in total. And of course, I love machine learning and stuff. So I've published around 5 plus research papers, and I've also published one patent. I hopefully goes through evaluation. And I'm also an active speaker, mentor, blogger, and open source contributor. So do follow me in Twitter, which you can see in my under my name, which is Vivek at Vivek Raja 007, which I gave around so many talks related to AI and cloud. So you can follow me and check on my sessions as well. So that's an intro about me. So let's dive into today's session. So first one is how to will be what are the prerequisites for today's session. So my target audience is beginner level. So if you're a developer or you're just started with cloud or Azure or anything, and even for machine learning, but you have to do something which leverages an end-to-end application which can actually use some machine learning capabilities, and you don't really need to understand what machine learning how it works. So this session is exclusively for you. um, so let's start with basic beginnings. So let's try to forget, like if you are a very beginner, just keep your mind fresh and let's start from very basic beginnings. So first is what is introduction to Azure Cognitive Services. So the main motive of Microsoft bringing cognitive services is to actually enable your apps into an intelligent one. So how do you actually do it? So you add some intelligence APIs. So that's what your Azure Cognitive Services are. So these APIs actually have some amazing capabilities that can work around some basic problems like translation, or like giving a text to speech analysis, or identifying what meaning that text actually has, and what sort of images that the we have in our database, and what sort of text is available in the image, and so many capabilities that you can just think of. So these are some addressable common problems in machine learning that they have addressed it and brought us an API that you can easily integrate without even you have to actually put an effort to build them on your own. So let's try to understand what they actually say. So it gives you a knockdown between barriers of you and an idea. So if you have some idea and you want to really implement it, and it does require some intelligence in your applications, you should be concentrating on your business applications rather than on the core tech. So which the core tech is actually brought to you by Microsoft Azure, and it enables your natural and contextual interaction between tools. So which is your applications get to easily interact with some natural data which you collect, which is images, audio, speech, and everything, and it actually passes through that API to bring out some amazing results, and you present that results outside. So that's the best way to actually to say what actually Azure Cognitive Services are, and how that actually helps you to achieve your business problems in first place. So again, coming back to that, so I guess I can explain Azure Cognitive Services into three simple examples. So the first one is not actually not an example, but it's like 3 points which will actually cover what is Azure Cognitive Services are. So the first one is they are actually a pre-trained AI services, which means they are actually trained with a lot of data and is already present as an API. So you don't have to take the burden of training or building a custom model yourself for your actually use case. So their Azure has all the models pre-trained services, and they are very much available for you through SDKs and APIs, or you can make a REST API call and so on. So you can actually concentrate on making your use cases better by integrating that SDKs, functionalities, and API calls to your Azure Cognitive Service. And the second point actually does get developed from the first one. So as I said, it is easily you can integrate with your applications to address some common use cases such as modernizing your contacts, or personalizing your recommendation, or speech to text, text to speech, security, or customer engagement, or whatever is actually enhances your productivity as well as your user experience. So, and the third one is which is the most important one, is like the AI services on Azure does not really require you to have some machine learning experience. All you just need to know is what problem you're solving, and what sort of solution does it have need, and what solution does can Azure Cognitive Service provide you, and how can you actually manipulate the responses so that your application can take up and work with it. So that's what you actually want to concentrate on, rather than your machine learning experience, so which is completely taken care by your Azure. So again, why we are actually using cognitive services? So I guess I have actually iterated multiple times to just to sum it up. So it's very easy, which means you can easily integrate with your applications, whether be it your applications can be in any sort of flexibilities, you can easily add it. You can even roll your own REST APIs, and it just requires a couple of lines to actually code. So at this end of the session, we will actually see how we can perform some speech-related API cognitive services with just 10 lines of code. So imagine that how powerful it is. So flexibility, so you can actually make the same API code in different languages, whether it be iOS, Android, Windows, or any sort of programming platforms like Python, Node. So today we'll be actually seeing in Python, which is my favorite language. So, and also it's the easiest one when it comes to integrations. So you can integrate into your language of any platform and languages of choice and test it. So this is a pre-trained model which has a very decent accuracy for you to bring on, and it is built by an experts from Microsoft Azure. So which is actually has a proven capability that it has a good prediction state, and also it has a quality documentation, and it has a good sample code and the community support as well. So you can even go to MSDN and post a question, or in GitHub you can raise an issue and you can get it resolved very easily. So now we actually understand like why there is an cognitive AI services existing in first place, and why Microsoft Azure has that particular things, and how why it is actually useful for you. Let's try to understand and reap out the benefits while using it. So let me ask you a couple of questions, and you can even drop those answers in the comment box if you have some answers as well. So let me try to understand what sort of audience we have today. So are you a person who's very new to machine learning? So if you are new to machine learning, drop S, that yes, I am new to machine learning or something like that. Or the second question is, okay, you are an application developer. Let's say you are a web developer or a mobile developer or someone who wants to make leverage AI services in your particular backend logics or in your business logics. So if that is an S, do drop that as well. Or you are a machine learning enthusiast with limited language. Let's assume like you are a newbie, but you have just started the machine learning, but you do really want to explore some complex problems, but you have very limited language knowledge, but you want to really do so. Or let's assume you are an AI expert and you want to build some quick, accurate AI models with very short span of time, uh, provided that the resources and the time availability is very less. Are you the person looking for it? So if you have actually answered yes for any one of the questions, let me quickly check the chat if that is possible. Sorry for that. Yeah, okay, just give me a second. Okay, I just need to switch it off. Okay, so if you have any comments or if you actually answered yes to any of one question, do let me know in the chat so we can take up that particular answer. So once again, going back to the presentation. So give me a second on that again. Yep. Host, can you just add the presentation back to the? Yep. Thank you. Yep. So if you actually answered yes to any of one of the questions, then to summarize that, then this Azure Cognitive Services is for you. To summarize the whole point which we actually discussed about what is actually Azure Cognitive Services are. So cognitive services are ready-made intelligence for your applications and workflows for your common use cases with quality and accuracy from continuously learning APIs. So it's ready-made and it's easily available and you can easily integrate and it has good accuracy. So let's, before we actually have some insights about speech, let's try to understand some what's a complete overview what we have in cognitive services. So we can broadly classify into five, which we call it as vision, speech, language, knowledge, and search. So in vision, we have computer vision, emotion detection, face detection, video analysis, and stuff. In speech, we have Bing speech. If you have used one, you should be familiar with it. And custom recognition is where you try to understand some custom intents and speech recognition or some analysis of how the speech should work. And speaker recognition is where you identify the speaker based on his voice and his audio ranges. And language has spell check, language understanding, and linguistic analysis, text analytics, and web language models. It's widely used in bot creation and stuff. And we have knowledge like academic knowledge and entity linking, knowledge exploration and recommendation and stuff. And we have search, so it has auto suggest, image search, news search, video search, web search. I think that is completely based on how Bing actually uses it. So let's try to understand few different things before we jump in. So which is first one is language understanding. So it tries to understand, like define the entities and intent. For example, like I want to book a flight to Delhi tomorrow. So which means I want to book a flight from Bangalore to Delhi tomorrow. So Bangalore is the departure city, arrival city is Delhi. Uh, Tomorrow is where I need to depart, and when is the return date? Actually, I didn't mention it. And my intent is to book a flight. So with these information, you collect these information from the text, and you map some utterances to an intent, and with that intent, you actually do some triggers and actions. So that's how you understand the language, how that machine actually understands the language. So news about, like I mentioned, like let's assume like you have Alexa or Cortana or Siri, and you ask about news about flight delays, then it actually understands, okay, it's about flight delays and that's a topic, and they have to find the news and or share the news and stuff. So once you have the intents, you have the command, and with the command you can really do some search and get the results. So what it really happens is like it helps you to reduce the labeling effort. For example, if there is a data, you have to tag it or name, classify, or whatsoever, and it has a seamless integration with for to speech API, and you can support 5 languages so far, and so on. So now let's try to understand. We saw about language understanding just as a glimpse. So, but we'll deep dive into speech, which is our main context of today's talk. So, in speech cognitive services, we have a couple of things here. So, which is translator as first one we are going to see. So the first one is translator is where it helps you to translate from one language to another. So it has around translation services available for 50, any to any, and it's highly customizable. So why we say it is a highly customizable is that you can actually use some self-serving custom training, or you can even use some previously translated documents, and it's always improving translation in terms of with the help of community. And you can interact with the translated API with Ajax, REST call, or SOAP interface or anything. And what sort of methods it has? So it has translate, and it has detect, speak, and add translation, get translations, and break sentences, and many more. So how does it work in the sense a translation API where the client actually does some speech? So it goes into your Azure Cognitive Services, it get translated, and the translated text comes back, and you do some service. So automatic speech translation is where that's where the speech actually gets translated into text, and you translate as well. So it goes under transcribe plus transcript over there, and optimized for conversations, for human to human conversation, not just simple utterances. And it has around language supported. It has for speech it supports around 8 languages, and for text 50 plus. So actually you have to pay per second. So typically it's $12 per hour, and it's 2 hours free, or in terms of speech. Or if it's terms of translation alone, then you have 2 million characters free for in the free session. So coming to the speech, so we have Bing Speech API, we have speaker recognition, and we have custom recognition. So speech API is where you convert to text back to again understand its intent. Recognition is where you try to understand who's the speaker. And in custom recognition, you try to fine tune your speech for anyone or anywhere. So that's where you bring your own capabilities inside. So the new translate speech is actually very close to real time, which means that is not just provided as a REST API. You can even interact that with WebSocket API. So you can send a stream of audio on PCM encoding, and that will receive a stream of a partial recognition, translated text, final recognition, final translation. And it's actually a final recognition is triggered by around 500 milliseconds of silence. So this is the same technology which is used by your Skype translator as well. So this is an example where you give a socket connection. These are the headers where you what sort of content you accept. So this application slash JSON, what sort of authorization you have to pass the token, and what sort of translation it's from translate from English to German, and how should I actually translate the speech. So the translated speech should be given in a female voice or a male voice, and what should be the audio format, and so on. So you can actually configure in a very granular way. That's why these services are very useful to make. So what is the actual way you have to develop an application if it actually involves a speech API? So which is a setup, you have to set up to receive an audio and get an authorization token, connect your Microsoft Translator via WebSocket. On connect, you listen to the setup speak, and you receive messages, parse the JSON, and get recognized text and translated text, receive audio and data in chunks. You play the audio and you disconnect the socket. So it's as simple as explained, and it's very easy in code as well. So now it's time for us to jump into a few little demos that would be really interesting for you to understand how it really works. So for that, what we are going to do is first, let's go and understand where to create cognitive services. So we have something called cognitive services. You can search in the comment in the search bar, and we have speech service, translator service, language service, and so we are going to work on speech today. So let's create a speech. So once you click create, it will take some time for. So give some resource groups and the region name, and pricing tier. Once you're given that, your speech will be created. So I already have one speech service ready for us for today's demo. And go to keys and endpoint, where you'll find the endpoint, the location, and the keys. Make sure that it's secret. So these are some secrets you have to maintain. And I guess that same goes for translator as well. So create a translator API. So once these are done, and you make sure you copy those keys and your secrets. Now let's head back to our this one. So I have all the endpoints and necessary secrets available here. So let me load it. I don't want to reveal it, so it's closed. So install your necessary cognitive services speech SDK. And then what I'm actually going to do is, this is a speech recognition, and it's a speech to text recognition as well. So it's going to uh, understand what I'm going to speak, and it's going to give me as text. Let's try it out. So what I'm going to say is, I'm going to say a couple of words. Let's see how it translates, recognizes. Welcome to Azure Developer Community. So perfect, it works. So it has mentioned that welcome to Azure Developer Community. Let's write some few other stuff as well. Hello, I'm Vivek Raja, and welcome to today's session at Azure Developer Community. Perfect. So hello, I'm Vivek Raja, and welcome to today's session at Azure Developer Community. It works very perfectly. And also, if you notice, there is a 500 millisecond that is taken as a pass. So that's where it stopped receiving the data and tries to predict it. So all it takes is you to a few things. One is your subscription key and your service, which you have obtained from your keys and endpoints, and create a speech configuration and the speech recognition. And all it takes for you to recognize speech. That's it. So with just 10 lines of code, we have just done an amazing speech to text service. So let's try to understand text to speech as well. So speech to text. Now let's try to understand the other way around, text to speech. So I should replace it. So text to speech. I'm sorry, I think you won't be able to hear because I'm wearing a headphone, but let me try if I can play it out loudly as possible. Mm, okay, let's try it out. I'm not sure if you will be able to hear, but it totally works. So I'm going to run this code where it's going to take some text and going to repeat it.
Welcome to Azure Developer Community.
I hope you had actually heard that, but let's try it one more.
Hello, Vivek and Azure Developer Community.
Awesome. I think you might have heard the results, but if you're not, you can just run this code and start playing with it. So I'm going to switch back to my headphones again. Perfect. So this is how you can actually create some speech to text, and you can make it much more granular by actually giving what should be the voice of the female, and how it should be done and everything. So the next one is the translation service API, where you try to translate from one language to another. Same as that, go to Translate API, get the keys, and start running this code. So I given hello world, and it has translated to both Tamil and Hindi. So I can confirm that this is actually right in Tamil, but I don't know Hindi, but I'm sure the audience might actually find it correct. So let's try one more thing. So right, welcome everyone. Let's see how that works as well. So it is in German, it is in Tamil, it's in Hindi as well. So perfect. I guess that's it's actually working very perfectly. So how it works? So you have your API, you have /translate, and we have your services over here. So from and to. So from English to German to Tamil to Hindi, that's what we have written, and give some headers. So subscription key, region, what type of content, and UID to make sure that's unique, and what it traces it out to your client, and give the body like what the text you want to send, and perfect. So I think that is where you can actually you can get started immediately, and you can run your service over here. So all it takes, like remember it hardly has around 10 lines of code, and what you have actually implemented has a very huge potential in terms of speech to text to speech, and as well as translation APIs. So this you can actually integrate in terms of APIs or in SDKs or whatsoever, and all it takes is less amount of efforts and more quality of work. Let's jump back to our presentation again. So the resources are where these resources were collected from Python SDK samples. So slash Azure samples where you get, and you have all the samples available. So go to search bar, type cognitive services, and you'll be able to get it. So also these all my sessions, blogs, and code samples is available in my GitHub. So Vivek0712 slash Azure ML Hub, where you can try to find all those code samples as well. And you can check out my amazing repositories with regarding to Azure, and it got featured in Microsoft newsletters as well. And if you have any doubts or any clarification, or would like to talk anything about cloud and AI, just ping me over in LinkedIn, GitHub, or Twitter. So these are the links. It's Vivek Raja PS in LinkedIn, GitHub Vivek0712, and Vivek Raja 007 in Twitter. So thank you everyone for listening for today's session. I hope it was useful and you can build some amazing use cases out of it. And until then, it's thank you from Vivek and Azure Developer Community.
So, so yeah, guys, thank you very much, Vivek, so for taking out your time for the community folks and delivering such a nice session on, the cognitive services. It was really very insightful that you just showed the hands-on session as well. So for as of now, let's wrap up with the session. I don't think there is any kind of queries from our audience side.
Okay.
Uh, Thank you everyone for joining in and being such a patient audience. So let's wrap up with the session and see you soon. Till then, stay safe, stay calm, study hard. Bye.
Bye everyone. Take care. Bye.